Do you know the first time I said to Siri, I said, Siri, I love you. Do you know what Siri said back? She said, Karen, you don't know me well enough. I was like, now that, somebody thought of something really good in that boardroom. Ask Siri, but there is no super Siri, and yet there is. There is. It already exists within us. How many people are on Facebook with me? Or just Facebook, period? Yes, right. There's this, you ever look at the ads, the gadgets, the whatever? Once you do, they follow you forever. Well, I just want to let you know that as a photographer, it's been a hobby since I was 16, and I've even been paid to take pictures, and so it's more than a serious hobby, I guess, now. And I found this thing recently, and it's called Arsenal. It's this new gadget, and it's been this Kickstarter campaign, and when I clicked it, I was like, what is this? It is this amazing thing. It's very small. It's like half the size of my, about a little less than this iPhone. And it's using artificial intelligence. This guy has figured out how to use artificial intelligence that all of the preceding experiences of photographers with various settings and lightings and situations and all that, all you have to do is plug this thing to the top of your camera and plug it in and put it in front of a mountain, and it does its artificial intelligence, and it knows how to set the white balance and all that stuff that I've never known how to do because I just shoot on automatic now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait. And I missed the original Kickstarter price of only $150. I couldn't believe it. No, I mean, like artificial intelligence. And so it ended up that there was a couple of thousand left out of 19,000 in the next round, so I paid $175 for one. I'm going to let you know when it arrives how well it works. Because it's a Kickstarter campaign, right? There's only 734 left, by the way, this morning, as of when I looked. But I just thought about how unbelievable that intelligence is. Then I got to thinking, I'm like, what if, because I know, have y'all heard that Apple behind the scenes, because I read Apple Insider and all that stuff, Apple behind the scenes has what's called a super Siri. Anybody heard of the super Siri? Because it's behind the scenes. You have to be on the inside. So there's a super series, and it's super duper intelligence. And when you ask super series any question, anything that's up in your life and you want to know, Siri, the super Siri is going to guide you, it's going to counsel you, it's going to advise you, it's going to know exactly what you ought to do in every circumstance. And it's in a Kickstarter, and it's only $139. Who wants a super series when it comes out? Some of you are hesitating. Well, one of these gadgets is true. And that's the Arsenal. There is no such thing, as far as I'm aware, of a super Siri. Though I have asked her a question. Do you know the first time I said to Siri, I said, Siri, I love you. Do you know what Siri said back? She said, Karen, you don't know me well enough. I was like, now that, somebody thought of something really good in that boardroom. Ask Siri, but there is no super Siri, and yet there is. There is. It already exists within us. Ernest Holmes tells us that the mind of God governs all things. God's intelligence is in the midst of us. And it's governing, and it's guiding, and it's counseling, and it's advising, and it's causing us to know what to do under every circumstance all the time. The great news is is we already have that. We are already in possession of it. Think about it. It's guiding, it's counseling, it's advising. It's causing us to know exactly what to do in every situation. Does anybody feel like that's turned on all the time and you're using it every single moment of your life? If so, I want to know. Yeah, and yet it's here. So there is this infinite, all-knowing super intelligence. This super intelligence. And it's within us right now, and it's always present no matter where we are. Ernest Holmes calls it the voice of God in you. And it's called sometimes intuition. Intuition. The highest faculty in us is intuition. And it comes to a point sometimes where, have you ever had it with no process of reasoning whatsoever? You know. You just know. You don't know how you know, you just know. Anybody have those moments in their life where it's just, yes, look, raise your hand, look around, look at us all. We have a super Siri. And we just know, and there's no reason to it. We don't know how we came about it. He tells us that God within you knows by pure intuition. That is, without process of reasoning with reference to external forces. There's no reference needed to external forces or existing conditions. If God were to know any other way, God's Spirit, it would be finite. This is the way that God knows. Wow. And that's why we say God is omniscient. It's this all-knowing, super intelligence. And because God knows this way, so do we. It's always present. It's always present. Have you ever had something where you felt like you knew something before the event even took place? Before it even happened? Have you ever had one of those moments where a friend or a family member comes into your heart, you're thinking about them, and lo and behold, they call you that day? Well, I was just thinking about you, right? Have you ever known about a significant event or had some clue about that before it happened? Raise your hand if you have. Look around. Look. A lot of us, yes. I liken intuition, it's like intuition is this thing that is eavesdropping in the mind of the universe. It's like, can you imagine eavesdropping in the mind of the universe, knowing exactly what's going to happen or when it happens, what to do next? You're just eavesdropping, knowing how it's all going to play out, or if you don't, you trust that it does, etc., etc. So this thing called intuition is beyond the rational mind. There is nothing rational about it. It's way beyond our own individual mind. And it's something that quantum physicists and scientists use the term non-local. It's non-local. It is beyond the space-time continuum. Therefore, things can happen in very strange ways because it's beyond the space-time continuum. 20 years ago, I had my first significant experience of this thing called intuition that I remember. There may have been some before, but this one I truly remembered. In my former profession, I was in sales and marketing, And I had to travel all over the country at one time. Actually, the company was here in Arlington, Texas, and I would travel all over the country to grow this company. And one time I found myself on a red-eye flight in Newark, New Jersey. Who's been to Newark Airport? Yeah. Nothing, no offense, New Yorkers. Newark, 4 a.m. Now, the good news is that I had done this route at least 2 or 3 times before, so it wasn't that foreign to me, but it was a red eye, so I had a little sleep, 4 a.m. I get to the baggage claim, and while I was waiting on my bag, this voice was like talking to me. And it said, "Be alert, stay awake, get ready." I literally turned around to see who was standing behind me in the baggage claim. There was no one, but it was like, "Be awake, be aware, get ready." It scared me. And I didn't know what it wanted, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Get the bag, get the rental car. Now I'm in the rental car. It did not stop. This, whatever it was, kept saying, "Be awake, be aware, get ready." Okay, it actually scared me so much that I cranked my radio up as loud as it would go to try to drown it out. I kid you not. And every now and then there was this impulse, and it was, "Get ready, be awake, be ready." I tried to shoo it away. I tried to shout it away. I was talking out loud like, "Leave me alone," and it kept persisting. Now, a few minutes down the road, I was traveling to a hotel, and it was a 2-laner and a 2-laner. 2 lanes here, 2 lanes there, median. You get the picture, right? Car's supposed to be over there. I'm supposed to be over here. I'm in the left lane of the 2-lane going that way. Left lane going that way, right? I started a blind curve, and I kid you not, at the start of this curve, there was a car on the wrong side of the highway in my lane coming straight at me. Now, that voice had been getting louder and more frequent right before that moment. It felt, you know how things when your life, yeah. Whatever that was, 10 seconds, I don't know, felt like a lifetime. So in that moment, the only thing I knew to do was go, "Now what?" It said, "Don't move." And the car went. Now, as soon as I brought everything back into my body, I looked in my rearview mirror, and I did see, because I was concerned about everybody else that was going to meet that car on the wrong side of the highway, and it spun around. It knew it was on the wrong side of the highway, and so I went on. That was a big thing that happened in my life 20 years ago. This be awake, be aware, get ready. So let's continue the quote, though, of Ernest Holmes. He talks about this, and he says, this mind of God that governs everything, that will counsel and guide you and all of that. The key is you must trust it. Now, leading up to that moment, I didn't trust it. I tried to move it away from me, whatever it was. I tried to drown it out. I tried to shout it out. And yet, when the moment came, I guess, in a way, not knowing, unconsciously, I trusted it because I said, "Now what?" And it said, "Don't move." Because we could have both moved at the same time. So we've got to trust it. This thing called intuition. We've got to know that it's for our good, even at times, sometimes, that we don't know. And if we don't trust it, what do we typically not do when it comes up? We don't follow it. We don't act on it. We don't move on it. some creative idea, whatever it is, some situation. Do you know that I was in a relationship for 9 months, and I intuitively knew that this was not a good relationship for me, but at the same time I really liked some of the fringe benefits, i.e. going to all these yoga trainings and getting certified as a yoga instructor and flying all over the country and having fun and living the high life and all that. But intuitively I knew that this was not good, until I finally was willing to ask the question of myself and go, is this really good for me? And the answer just kept saying no, 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 no. Sometimes we intuitively know the job, the relationship, albeit the marriage, whatever, the family member, the situation, the circumstance, it doesn't matter. Think of something. You intuitively probably know what is best. And yet, sometimes, have you ever not followed it? Let's see. Are you willing to look around? You're not alone. You've got to follow it. We need to be willing to let this intuition guide it. So not only trust it, but we got to follow it. So there are times when our intuition is fully present and we don't even know the outcome. I've had many of these situations and circumstances where my intuition was telling me something. Oh my gosh, did I question it? I don't have time to tell you a few more stories that I wanted to today because it's so rich. But there have been times where I just went okay and I went with it. And it was stuff that actually wasn't even for me in the end. It was something that this one mind, Spirit God, whatever we choose to call it, was prompting me to do something. And I just said yes. And as it turned out, it ended up helping a lot of people around me. I was just the conduit. It had nothing to do with me. But, on one occasion, it was thousands and thousands of dollars raised for all the Centers for Spiritual Living teens because I was willing to do this. And, that was the story I was going to tell you. Just imagine I did, and we're going to move on. But we gotta follow it, even if we don't know where it's going to lead us. Ernest Holmes tells us that through intuition, we perceive and directly reveal God, Spirit. So, another new thought, just who Ernest Holmes learned from, Thomas Troward, he says, the importance and understanding and following the intuition cannot be exaggerated. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it cannot be exaggerated. We must understand the importance of it, and we must follow it. And we can invite it to come forth. And how do we invite it to come forth? In the stillness, in the quiet. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to invite it forth in that particular moment while we're in the stillness and in the quiet. But what I've discovered since those 20 years, and especially in this last decade, if I don't take time to be in the stillness and the quiet and in meditation, or whatever spiritual practice that gets me still, it sure doesn't come up nearly as often, nearly as clear later in the day or the week or the month. And the other thing that I've discovered by being my own experimental lab in this thing called inviting the intuition to come forth is it does not show up when I'm stressed. So that's been a barometer for me over these past years, is how much is this intuition, as I invite it, showing up? Because it's the best thing there is, right? But if I'm stressed, it's not, and that's a barometer. Got to lower the stress, So the intuition comes up. Dr. Peter's going to talk about anxiety and stress in our life later on this month in this heart intelligence. And so I let you know that that's something that I've noticed. But the more that you can recognize it, the more that you can trust it, the more that you can follow it, it's like you're building your muscles, the stronger this super Siri becomes in your life. Intuition. It's omniscient. Imagine you have the all-knowing, infinite wisdom of life itself in you, as you, and through you all the time. Yes. You do. You don't have to look outside yourself ever if you don't want. Siri, should I take this job? I was going to do some playful thing, but y'all know. Karen, I don't think so. Would you listen to a super Siri? But you might listen to that which is within you, which is so all-knowing and so infinite. And I end us with Rumi. Rumi tells us there's a voice that doesn't use words. Most of the time, there is no voice for me anymore. Certainly not one screaming, be awake, be aware, be alert. But I welcome it if it wants to. Saved my life once. But there's this voice that doesn't use words. We just have to listen. We just have to trust. And we just have to follow it. And so it is. Julie, come on up. I'm going to do a quick prayer.
I hope you love watching these as much as we love sharing them with you. And to help us spread the message and to keep this going, please donate. You can text. You'll find the number on your screen. You can go find Easy Tithe as an app and find CSL Dallas. Or you can come to our website, csldallas.org/give, and donate there. And while you're there, check us out. And when you're in Dallas, come visit. We want you to be part of our community. And we love having you here.